Dudes, I couldn't even get downstairs well, I did. I took my trash out. But there's this crazy lady around here who goes around with her hair all disheveled and the demons jumped right in it. Remember, I told you that mental problems are actually spiritual problems. So when you have someone saying, I have mental health problems, explain to them that they need to clean up their religious life. They need to become more in tune, more spiritual, more intuitive. In other words, you need to find Jesus. And if they don't want to admit that, that's their problem, you know? But hey, you're going to go through those problems. Somebody managed to fix it for you, but if you want to be stupid, be stupid. But this one, she's on the elevator and she's coming out with her walker. And I said hello, and she's like, what? And I repeated myself, what? And I said, have a nice day. And she pulls her walker and she won't allow me to enter the elevator. And she turned around, she goes, I've never, and she literally sits on the walker. The walker has a bench for her to turn around and sit, and blocking my path. And she says, you know, I've never had car trouble in my life. I've never stolen a car. Something to the effect of car trouble and stealing. I said, well, that's very nice. And, and I said, please allow me to get into the elevator. And I gently moved her chair. I think she's surprised by my strength. I was just focused, but it did move her. But I said, please allow me passage. And it was very, very graceful and gracious. Also, I was in my wheelchair. So, I have a heavy metal behind my behind, and so it was interesting because she was surprised that my arms were that strong. And when I moved her, I said, please allow me to enter the elevator. And I got in, and she goes, blame me for all of your date problems. And I said, not at all. Have a nice day. And it was so funny because I was very nice. Sorry. I said, have a nice day. And she goes, F you, you effer, F, 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 F. And I was like, gosh, can't I even take a bag of trash out with some demon trying to jump me? And the last time she told me, I've never sold blues in my life. And I'm not an effing prostitute. Like, darling, I never said that you were. But anyway, you guys are going to see this everywhere. And I hate to say it, but it's witches spinning out, A lot of them don't know they're witches. If they're slandering, gossiping, two-timing, thieving, person who, there's so many things that can make you a witch, and people don't think they're a witch, And if you're tampering with people's food, if you're drugging others to do what you want them to do, there's 1,000 things that people are doing, and they have no idea that this is sorcery. If you're lying about your neighbor, and turning the other neighbors against them, guess what? You have now created a manipulation, and that makes you a priestcrafter. So, and they get to this age, and karma comes to call because the karma credit plan always comes to call. And you are going to see a lot of people around you spinning out. The one thing you have to keep foremost in your brain isn't what were they smoking, what were they drinking. You'll notice people can do all that. What you have to really ask yourself is, what were they thinking? What were they doing? Where was their spirit in their heart? What condition was their soul in? Are they insecure with life, thinking that they have signed evil contracts that condemn them to hell? Do they think they've already sold their souls to the devil? There are those that feel that since they've sold their soul to the devil, they better be extra evil, because remember, you have to be hot or cold. God has his purposes for the wicked as well, and God crafted hell. That doesn't mean that the wicked are not punished. It does not mean that we don't suffer. But what it does mean is that we are in one heck of a spiritual academy that is supposed to prepare us for the level of deity that we ourselves are willing to take on, because it is an authority and an onus, not a party and a kick. Well, see, somebody just shouted in there. I have no idea what that was. Probably yelling at their dog. It's sad. I don't know why you would have a dog if you're going to have to yell at it like that and get angry and constantly upset and bickering with the dog. And, don't have a dog. Okay, don't have a freaking dog. You're always angry with the damn dog. If your dog makes you angry, probably shouldn't have the dog. I understand that, puppies make mistakes. Nobody did it better than Jake, because I was taking care of Byron at the time, and Byron was a sadistic little narcissist who took great joy in giving Jake things to tear up so that I would continuously have to clean. I mean, all I did was clean, 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 and the house was consistently in a state of massive disrepair. He would literally go by things, knock them over, and not even attempt to pick them up, and he was very capable of picking things up. In fact, there were many times that it appeared to me, because I'd be watching him, he didn't realize I'd be just coming out of the bathroom or something to this effect, and I would see him flick things off. It wasn't until later that I did a little bit more study that I realized he was trying to keep me as unbalanced as possible, so I would have to stay there as his free caregiver. I was homeless at the time, and at his house, I didn't have a bed, nothing to sleep on at all. And he sat on the couch all day, and his bed was rendered useless. The place was overrun with bed bugs and mice and other things, and I literally was given no help by the management or the neighbors, because it was being circulated. And I think Byron, in a way, might have encouraged the idea that I had somehow encroached and was some form of an interloper, to the point where I don't know, where I had infiltrated, when it was completely the opposite. He asked me to come help him with his electronics. I did. He passed out in front of me. And the next night, I didn't come back. I thought he'd be with doctors. And he said that, no, in fact, he enjoyed my company. He made himself sound like a lonely old man, and I felt bad. So I went over. And the second night, my friend Patricia knocked on the door. We were in Rendon Terrace at the time, who was run by a very corrupt, horrible, and again, another narcissist. These guys tend to band together, and they have this uneasy... Anyway, so what ended up happening is he passed out again. Well, we come to find out that these were actually heart attacks, and that he was going to need 3 stents. He asked me if I'd stay with him that night. Actually, everybody asked me if I'd stay with him. The doctors, everybody. So I was like, okay. And I actually had to be right next to him in bed. And the bed had bed bugs, so I got bed all up that night, but he could die. And he said he was used to it. I could not believe the situation we were in. And if his skin lost contact with this vest, it was a defibrillator vest, to where it goes ging, ging. It's the same tone you hear when you're calling for the nurse in the hospital. And if you don't hit a button within about 2-3 seconds, it's going to shock him, and that can kill him, And so we did that for like 2 or 3 nights. Anywho, I did not live with him at the time. I was working for another woman, and that was an entire, what would the word be? Shiatsu show. Her name was Gwen Sullivan. She is a false writer, and boy, are we gonna have fun exposing her later, because she is an abuser, and I believe an indirect killer of a vet. An awful woman she is. Definitely a witch. Belongs to the. She goes in for all that Galactic Federation stuff. And I would love someone to say that I slander her. Oh, she slandered me for years and years. She literally ran up and down the halls at Rendon Terrace yelling, she's a witch, she's a witch, she's gonna get you all. She worships the devil, all of these things that were beyond, limits and whatnot. And what really got me, I was shocked in my shoes when she literally in my face said, now I know why they killed all the Jews. And I was like, whoa. Did that came out, right? That didn't just happen in your head. When she said that, I was stunned. And literally the only thing I could say is something that went way back to my dad. And when I just addressed her, I looked at her and I said, you know what? I would get angry, but once I consider my source, I'm not mad at all. And Dad used to always tell me, you got to consider your source. And it's true. She's such a blithering, this woman was beyond TikTok. And so the whole place, that's why I'm doing this series, guys, especially senior citizen homes. The demons are having their last dances. And let me tell you, there is nothing more mischievous, more immature, more childish, more mean girl, mean boy than these senior citizens who have earned their retirements or gotten a stipend, so they don't have a whole lot to do. They do have pretty nice places to live and food to eat. So they begin becoming troublesome, bickersome. They become they just want to have problems, and that, idle hands are left to sin. And it's sad because people who hurt seniors and cause problems for seniors, even fake illnesses, feel very justified because they're saying, well, you know what? If they didn't have anything else to concentrate on, they just start bullying their neighbor. And that's not very fair because there's some very nice senior citizens that have truly come through life. But unfortunately, it is wheat from chaff, let me tell you, baby, because it's beyond amazing how people will just pick on each other. What's in front of your door? Who is that visiting you? Where do you park your car? Where do you live? You're just like, whoa, hello, neighborhood watch captain, 2 years in a row, Midvale City, and never once gave anybody this kind of an interrogation. Are you kidding me? It just blew my mind. So yeah, here's some of our little graffiti from our newfound. That's the sad part. They're literally pumping people in from all over the world, from very third world places. Some people are actually having to be instructed on the importance of washing their hands, combing their hair, and bathing. And lots of them run around with no shoes. In fact, right over here at Walmart, I heard a woman say, I like to play with the Americans and make them go to the back because she was blocking the bathroom and wasn't cleaning it. And she was joking with her friend. I was like, you've got to be kidding me here. So I actually filmed them because it became very funny to them. And the woman saw me. And she's all, ma'am, did you film me, ma'am? Ma'am, did you film me? Are you filming me, ma'am? Are you filming me? And I'm just like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Something to that effect. Anyway, I want to look into this Ashley Furniture here too. So I've been here a year and they're still building it. So that's weird. I don't know what's all going on with that. So anyway, yeah, I just had to mention that to people that you've got to be on the alert. Mental problems are actually spiritual problems. And so any person who says, I have a mental problem, you need to ask them, did you think to pray? Are you singing hymns? Are you fasting? Are you studying the scriptures? Are you doing things that may not keep you in alignment? with all things North Node. I would highly suggest that people start understanding that there is a real truth out there. You got your little place, you've got your little place, and oh, he has his. But there is one truth. I love this, but that's my truth. Well, there's his truth, her truth, and then there's the truth. Get it under your belt and you'll get yourself some real power. Because remember, self-control is the ultimate power in the universe. Have a wonderful day, and remember that God loves you, and so do I.